Okay. We are recording now, and if anybody does lose connection or can't see, you will be able to just ask me for the recording. If you live close enough to come to the bill office, the door is unlocked and you're welcome to join me in the room. And if you need to try to contact us. I'm going to every now and then be shutting down my view and just checking on our email to make sure nobody is waiting. So you can email lifelonglearning@bucknell.edu and I'll do my best to get a hold of you. Okay? Without further ado, though, now it's all yours, Casey.
All right, I'm gonna share my screen, make sure everybody can see that first. Okay. Can you see that, Heather?
I see a welcome. Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right. So, I don't know if you can control this on my behalf, Heather, but if you could mute everybody just for the time being, if that's possible. What's going to happen, everyone, is I'll go through the presentation. We'll save questions and answers for the end. If you have a question and you don't want to forget the question, you could throw it into the chat box. And when I get to the question portion of the presentation, we can pull that open to see if your question's in there. If not, we'll unmute everybody at that time to answer questions. So again, I just ask that everyone's muted just so this way we don't have any disruptions. But I will get started. So thank you all for joining us today. And thank you, Heather, for putting this together. I know we've been working on this trip for a few months now, so I'm very excited to present it. And thank you all for joining us on your Tuesday afternoon. Now, for those of you who might not be familiar with Grand Circle or overseas adventure travel, I wanted to give you a little background on who we are. Now, Grand Circle Travel was founded in 1958 by a retired high school principal, Ethel Andrus. Now, 65 years later, we continue to be the leader in travel for Americans age 50 and over. When the Lewis family purchased Grand Circle in 1985, they stayed true to Ethel's founding principles, which were crafting experiences that are authentic, thought provoking, and truly representative of the local culture and its people. Now, we added overseas adventure travel, who we'll be discussing today, to our travel family in 1993. Now, it was founded in 1978 by a 28-year-old high school teacher named Judy Wineland. OAT was the first U.S. tour operator to offer tented safaris in Tanzania, in addition to small group tours in Nepal, Turkey, and Peru. Now, as a part of the Grand Circle family, OAT became the first U.S. travel company to create, operate, and sell adventure trips to Americans aged 50 and over. We're now celebrating 65 years of Grand Circle and 45 years of overseas adventure travel. Now, you may have traveled with us, but maybe in a different capacity. So, just to talk about some of our family of brands with Grand Circle, we have our Grand Circle River Cruise line. We have our Grand Circle Large Land Tours. They are capped at about 42 people. And then we have our Overseas Adventure Travel family. So, under the OAT umbrella, we have our small group adventures by land and sea. Today, we'll be discussing our tour by land. Our adventures by sea are small ships. And we also have our immersion line, which is shortened itinerary tours. Now, let's get into why we're all here, and that is the Morocco Sahara Odyssey, which is 16 days. So, the tour with Bill will take place from November 2nd through November 17th of 2027. Now, a question that I often get is the weather. Now, in November, Morocco transitions from autumn to winter, which brings comfortable daytime temperatures and cooler nights. So it makes it very ideal for sightseeing without the summer heat or crowds. And November is off peak season, meaning fewer tourists, more relaxed Medinas, and easier access to our hotels, riads, and tours. Now, the overall temperature, you'll see it changes throughout, but you'll see a high of 72, and the low will typically sit in the mid to low 50s. So during the day, you want to think packing in layers for fall. So during the day, it'll be warmer. You might want to take off your sweater and have on a short sleeve shirt, a hat maybe with the sun. But at night, we will experience those cooler nights, especially in the Sahara. So we'll want to pack some layers of fleece maybe for night. Now, we also rate this tour on its activity level. So, the activity level we rate all of our tours on is on a scale of 1 to 5. Now, with the activity level, there's a multitude of rigors that contribute to the rating. That could be the pacing of the tour, the altitude, how many locations we're seeing throughout the tour, how much activity there is. So, all that's taken into account when we grade these tours. So this is an activity level 3, which is considered moderate. So under that category, you'll see online that they say travelers should be able to climb 60 stairs consecutively and walk 3 miles over some steep slopes or loose or uneven surfaces without difficulty. Now, on this particular tour, walks typically they could last for about 3 hours. Now, when we have a walk for 3 hours, you're not walking straight 3 hours without breaks. So we'll have breaks, we'll have pauses, time for you to sit down. You can also, what's great about these tours is walk a little slower if need be. We'll give you a wireless headset at the beginning of the tour. So this way, every day you are responsible for bringing it back out, but you can pop that in. And if you're walking a little slower that day, that's perfectly fine. You'll be able to hear everything going on so you won't miss out. Now, specifically for this tour, we want to see that you're able to walk maybe 5 to 7 miles unassisted. Again, we won't be doing 5 to 7 total in a day. It's usually spread out. But you could expect at least 3 to 6 hours of activities on a couple of the days. Now, what's included in our tour? So we have, oops, so sorry, I skipped ahead. We have 14 nights of accommodation. So that'll include 13 nights if you're taking any of the extensions. Now, I will say we don't have any extensions available for this specific date. So it'll just be the base tour itself. So if you do go online and see those extensions, just know that they're not available for our date. Now, aside from the accommodations, we will also have international airfare that includes the airport transfers, taxes, fees, airline fuel surcharges. Will include all land transportation while you're on the tour. We also have 34 meals included. So that's 14 breakfasts, 9 lunches, and 11 dinners. This also includes one home hosted dinner, which I'll explain a little bit further as we get through the day to day. We will have 15 small group activities included, the services of the local OAT trip experience leader. Now, the trip experience leader is who will be greeting you at the airport, and they are with you until they bring you back to the airport at the end of the tour. So they're with you from start to finish. They're your representative from OAT, but they're also your guide. They're from the region, they know the area the best. So you are working with the local who will help you to translate the language as well. Now, what's also included is the services of the local, as I said, the experience leader, but we might also have some local step-on guides that might join us for different discussions throughout the tour. We'll include the gratuities for those local guides, the drivers, the camp staff in the Sahara, and the luggage porters. The only gratuities that will not be included in the price point is the gratuities for the trip experience leader themselves. So that will be something that will come out of pocket at the end of the tour based off of your experience. We also include a 5% frequent traveler credit toward your next adventure. So you always have a discount. Now, when Bill does their next trip for 2028, you'll have a discount to save on that trip as well. Now, let's get into the day to day. So, day one, we want to think of day one as really just our overnight flight. This is a travel day. So, we'll have a late night flight as we fly over to Casablanca, Morocco. Now, day two this morning, depending on your specific flight arrangements, you'll arrive in Casablanca throughout the day. Now, an OAT representative will greet you at the airport and assist you with transfers to your hotel in Rabat. This is one of Morocco's ancient imperial cities and its capital since 1913. Now, for lunch, you can enjoy your first taste of Moroccan cuisine on your own. So, lunch will be on your own this afternoon, depending on what time your flight arrives in. Your trip experience leader can recommend a local restaurant for you to try. And then this afternoon, once everyone is checked into the hotel and you receive your room assignments, the afternoon is free. Now, perhaps you'll explore the creative side of Morocco at the Villa des Arts. This site houses contemporary arts that draws heavily into the Moroccan heritage and focuses on themes centered around environmentalism, coexistence, and tolerance. Or you might opt to take a stroll through Rabat's botanical gardens to witness over 650 species of plants, including rare varieties of tropical and subtropical, as well as succulents. Now, once everyone enjoys their afternoon and settles in as they'd like, for dinner this evening, we'll enjoy dinner together at our hotel's restaurant, which will feature a regional cuisine. Now, after dinner this evening, you're free to spend your evening as you wish. Perhaps you'll retire to your room to rest after the long journey, or you can join your travelers at the hotel to discuss your upcoming discoveries. But day three is where we're really going to get started, and that's the nitty gritty of when our touring will begin. So, breakfast this morning will take place at the hotel. Now, our trip experience leader will give a welcome briefing. Afterwards, we'll delve into the basics of the Arabic language. Now, we'll leave the hotel behind us and we're going to set out on an orientation tour by bus with our trip experience leader to really familiarize ourselves with the surrounding area. We'll stroll the cobbled streets of Rabat, seeking out opportunities to interact with the locals that we come across. Now, next, we'll get off the bus. We'll take a walk along the outside of the royal palace. Now, it's surrounded by a guarded enclosure, and the present palace was built in 1864 over the ruins of an older royal palace. The architectural complex with large gardens and interior courtyards houses the seat of government and includes a mosque, guard, barracks, and a royal college as well. Now, we'll also stop by the Mohammed V Mausoleum, which is an architectural marvel that is the final resting place of three members for the royal family. Now, this morning's discoveries concluded the Kasbah Oudea, a citadel which was originally built in the 12th century. Now, many of the winding lanes are fringed with whitewashed homes, intensely accented with the vibrant hue of blue. Now, as we continue our exploration of the Kasbah, we'll also make our way to the Andalusian Gardens. This offers a shady retreat with its varying plant life, such as oleanders, orange, lemons, and banana trees. Now, perhaps we'll take a step away from the bustle of the streets and enjoy the view of the Beauregreg River. Now, lunch this afternoon will be on our own. Again, as I mentioned at the beginning, your program director or trip experience leader, as we refer to them, is from the region. So they're going to give you the best recommendations on where to eat, what's in walking distance. They'll be able to recommend all that to you. So, really, you want to rely on your trip experience leader to really personalize this experience. Anything that you're interested in, whether it's art, architecture, the museums, the history, make sure to let them know. They'll make sure to point things out to you that pique your interest, give you recommendations for your free time, and they also message you via email about 2 weeks prior to departure. They introduce themselves, let you know a little bit about their biography, and they ask what you are looking to gain out of this trip. They like to know your interests. So if there's anything that they can set up with you beforehand, they'll do that. But like I said, you really want to lean on them and refer to them on this tour for anything in your free time that you're looking to accomplish. Now, this afternoon, after returning to the hotel together, you can enjoy some free time to spend as you please. Now, we'll join back together this evening where for dinner, we'll enjoy a welcome dinner at a local restaurant. This will feature traditional Moroccan cuisine as well as a glass of wine. And then after our welcome dinner together this evening, the rest of the evening is yours. So you are free to return to your room to rest before tomorrow's explorations, or maybe you want to gather in the hotel lobby, bar, and lounge to enjoy your evening. Now, on day four, after our breakfast at the hotel, we will depart the coast and Rabat this morning, and we're going to set off for Fez. This is locally referred to as Fes. We'll drive past sweeping fields, rolling countrysides, and tree-covered slopes, some of which may be speckled with poppies, prickly pears, olive trees, or snow, depending on the weather. Now, we'll make a stop along the way in El Chemiset. We'll stretch out our legs and perhaps get a cup of coffee at a coffee shop there. Now, upon arrival in Fez, we'll leave our bus behind in the modern city and enter the Medina, or the old city, on foot. Now, as we enter, let the colors and sounds of the boisterous Fez envelop you. Vendors will fill the market stalls with colorful, handcrafted goods. And on either side of us, donkey carts and motorbikes will zip past you as we carefully traverse the narrow, maze like lanes of the ancient walled cities. But as we approach our riad, you'll never believe the peaceful haven awaiting us on the other side of the door. Now, a riad is a Moroccan home that has been refurbished into a guest house. With just around 20 rooms, our small group size lends itself perfectly to the intimacy and authenticity of a riad stay. We'll get a true sense of local life as we share this traditional living space for the next 3 nights. Now, a typical riad will feature intricate handmade tile work and is multiple stories high. Now, with rooms each possessing their own distinct character, connected by a hallway that overlooks an open air courtyard. Most riads don't feature elevators, and with their open layouts, it's not uncommon for the sounds of the city outside to make their way into our living space. Now, upon our arrival, our trip experience leader will lead us on a brief orientation walk around the vicinity of the riad. They'll point out the places you can go in your free time. Now, lunch today will be traditional hot and cold dishes served at our riad upon arrival. So we'll settle into our rooms, have lunch, and following lunch, after checking into our riad, you'll have the remainder of your afternoon to really relax more at the riad, enjoy your living accommodations, or perhaps you might venture out and explore more of Fez. Now, we are in walking distance to many markets and sightseeing adventures, so you can go out and explore as you wish or relax. Now, dinner this evening will be on our own. Your trip experience leader will be happy to provide you with other recommendations. And with that, the evening is free to explore on your own as well. So, again, you might choose to retire to your room or enjoy a drink with your fellow travelers. Now, moving into day 5, we'll have breakfast at the Riad, and then this morning we'll enjoy a full day of exploration in Fez. This will begin with a stroll through the Medina with a local guide. So we'll have a local guide step on and join us for this stroll. Now, the Medina is often considered the world's most well-preserved medieval city, and it is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Now, we start by exploring the traditional Jewish quarter called the Mala. Then we'll enter the souks. The souks are markets. Now, this ancient section of Fez is a maze of narrow streets and one of the largest car-free urban areas in the world. Now, the benefit of being in the company of your trip experience leader will become instantly clear as we navigate the winding Medina. It's a code that only a true local can really crack. So they will guide you through. Every inch of space you'll see is filled with the bazaars, the cafes, shops, donkeys, and locals, of course. Now, as you stroll the narrow lanes, the age-old urban tradition will be on vibrant display, and the intensity of the daily life will be bursting around every corner. Now, for lunch, we will have lunch together at an old Moroccan home that has been converted into a local restaurant. It is situated in the heart of the old Medina. Now, after lunch, we will continue exploring the Medina as we hear the calls of the vendors selling their wares, can watch the artisans maintain their stalls and listen to shoppers haggle. Maybe you'll haggle as well and browse for gifts to take back home. Now, we'll return to our riad in the mid afternoon, enjoy time to relax prior to dinner. Now, for dinner, we're actually going to break into even smaller groups this evening to enjoy a true taste of Moroccan life during a home hosted dinner. Now, if you have traveled with OAT before, you will know personally that the home hosted dinners are very coveted and well loved. It's truly one of the experiences that set OAT apart. Now, if you're traveling on your own, this is not an experience that you would have. And as you heard from the history of how we started these companies, the most important thing to us is education. We were founded by educators. And so education is at the forefront of every part of our tours. With that, the best education you can have is by being really enveloped into the culture. And that's by spending time with the locals and having the opportunity to get to know them, their daily lives, their culture, and ask them questions. The best opportunity to do so is by going into the home of a local and having dinner with them. So that is exactly what we're going to do. Now, it's the truest taste of Moroccan life that we can have on this adventure. So, the family that you spend the evening with may live inside the old walls of the Medina or outside the historic center in what is referred to as the new city. They may have school age children or be retirees, but we will split into smaller groups. So we'll go off into a couple homes, but all the families will live in a private apartment and they will provide a welcoming and conjugal atmosphere. Now, in accordance with Moroccan tradition, you may be asked to remove your shoes before entering the home, and we do ask that you respect your host's family's wishes. Now, you can expect to dine on typical Moroccan dishes such as harira, which is a popular soup dish, which is made up of tomatoes, chickpeas, and lentils. You might have tagine, which is a lamb dish prepared with apricots and seasonal vegetables. And there will also be Moroccan salads. Now, for the families that we do visit tonight, this is a great chance for them to practice their limited English. Of course, you will have your trip experience leader to facilitate and translate as well if needed, but they do know enough English to get by, but it's a chance for them to practice. So be patient. And for us, it's a unique opportunity to learn even more about daily life in the city as you personally connect with the family and you can ask your hosts about their family dynamics, their cultural norms, professions, and more. They love questions, so it's the best time to ask. You might, for example, learn about the Moroccan wedding traditions and have a chance to view a family weddings day attire. Or perhaps you'll learn more about the challenges of running a small business in Morocco. Now, whatever the topic of your dinner table discussion, your evening will be one to remember. So you might like to share with your host your recent discoveries along the way, or even some small gifts from your local town. So anything that you want to bring back to them as a reflection of where you're from, they will absolutely love. It's not something you have to do, but it will be a really nice gesture if that's something of interest to you. Now, this evening, you're free on your own after we return to our riad. You can take some time for yourself, explore the surrounding area, or meet up with the fellow travelers to discuss the day. Now, moving into day 6 after our breakfast at the Riad, this morning is yours to make your own discoveries in Fez. You may choose to take a walk through La Ville Nouvelle. This is an area whose French influence and modern look and feel offer a fascinating contrast to the traditional styles throughout most of Fez. Or if flora is your forte, maybe you'll choose to visit the botanical gardens. Or you may choose to join a full day optional tour of 2 UNESCO World Heritage sites that we will host. Now, the 2 sites are Volubilis and Meknes. Now, our tour begins in Volubilis, one of the most well preserved Roman cities in North Africa. Now, it will be led by a local guide and will wander amongst its historic ruins and colorful mosaics. And our guide will help us to envision what life was like in ancient times. Now, from this vantage point, we will have a panoramic view of the whitewashed holy city of Moulay Idris in the distance. We will then set off for Meknes, which is a one-time home of the Moroccan Sultanate. Now, lunch will be on your own. Your trip experience leader can give you some recommendations for those not on the optional tour. But for those who have joined our optional tour, you'll enjoy a traditional Moroccan lunch in a local restaurant in Meknes upon arrival. Now, this afternoon, the travelers not on the optional tour will continue to enjoy free time. So, this is completely a free day if you do not take the optional tour. Now, again, Your program director can give you recommendations on what to do this day. But for those of you who are still on the tour, we will continue our explorations with the tour of the old city in Meknes after our lunch. Here, we'll visit the local monuments, the historic sites, and after returning to Fez late this afternoon, you may enjoy the amenities of your riad, relax, and make your own discoveries. So, that optional tour will take place from morning to about mid to late afternoon if you decide to join it. Now, dinner this evening will be held at the riad we're staying at. And then this evening, it is yours to have your own discoveries. If you choose to go to bed earlier, maybe experience the city at night. Now, day 7, after our breakfast at the Riyadh, we will this morning go out and experience in the Sahara, and that begins today. So, this is our first day of our explorations in the Sahara. We'll board our bus to drive across the Middle Atlas mountain range. This will wind through pine groves and giant cedar forests. The rich purple soil and the tall evergreens are quite a contrast against one another. So, beautiful picture opportunities. We will cross a 6,000-foot pass in the mountains and head further toward the Sahara. Now, this long transfer will give our small group ample opportunity to witness the varied geological and ecological zones that we travel through and will gain a deeper understanding of the regional landscapes. Now, we'll make several stops along the way, beginning with the quaint ski resort town of Afran. Here, we'll have time to take pictures. Later, we'll also visit a semi nomadic family when possible, based on their availability. Now, while here, we will enter into their tent and enjoy a cup of tea while discussing the nomadic way of life. Now, our small group affords us the unique opportunity to ask this family questions and understand their daily life. Now, following our visit, we will board our bus again and continue our drive through the thick cedar forest. And perhaps you'll spot the Barbary macaque, which is a rare monkey species. Now, lunch will be held together at a local restaurant in Medelt. And as we continue our drive after lunch through the high Atlas Mountains into the late afternoon, we descend into Erfad. This is a small trading village that is the gateway to the vast Sahara Desert. Now, dinner this evening will be at the hotel, and your evening is free to enjoy a nightcap with fellow travelers at the hotel bar or rest before tomorrow's journey deeper into the Sahara Desert. So we'll stay at the hotel tonight, and then moving into day 8 is when we really enjoy our time and move into our Sahara Desert camp. Now, we'll enjoy breakfast at the hotel this morning, and we'll begin our day boarding a 4x4 vehicle and driving into the village of Risani. Here, we'll enjoy an OAT exclusive visit with members of a local desert community in their home to experience a traditional side of Moroccan life. Now, our trip experience leader will help us communicate with the local family, and we encourage our travelers to interact, ask questions, and learn more about this way of life. Afterwards, we will board back onto our 4x4 vehicles and head into the desert to continue our journey to our private tented campsite, which is located close to a sea of sand dunes near Merzouga. Now, during our 2 night stay, we'll experience the remote environment of the Sahara with no roads and the sound of the wind in the dunes as we navigate the sandy tracks. Now, at the camp, you'll stay in a walk-in canvas tent, complete with a camp bed, mattress, fresh linens and pillow, and a private ensuite toilet facility. Now, there is a separate tent for dining. So we will have lunch here at the camp in the dining tent. And then this afternoon, you'll have some free time to discover more of the desert. Now, perhaps you'd like to trek over the sand dunes where you can enjoy the dramatic views of the sun setting low over the desert stretching out around you, or you can just simply relax and enjoy the camp. But later this afternoon, our local cook will give us a demonstration in preparing Moroccan cuisine. We'll then have dinner together here at the camp in our in the dining tent. And then this evening is free for you to enjoy the starry desert sky, spend time reflecting with fellow travelers, or just rest. Now, day 9, we will gather in the dining tent for breakfast. And following breakfast, we will saddle up to explore the desert dunes the traditional way on the back of a camel. Then our 4x4 vehicles will take us to a local farm for an exclusive visit to learn about the local produce and the vegetation in the Sahara's unique climate. Now, once our visit wraps up, we'll head to Camellia. This is a remote desert village. The region is renowned for the ritual songs of the Gnawa musicians, and we'll get the chance to hear their melodic chants during a lively performance. Next, we'll get another perspective on life in the furthest corners of the Sahara at a nomadic village, which is an experience exclusive to our OAT travelers. During our visit, we'll talk to the women of these families over a cup of tea to learn about their nomadic lifestyle and how they cook, maintain their home, educate their children, and more. We'll return to our camp in time for lunch. We'll have lunch in the dining tent. And then we will have about several hours of free time this afternoon to spend as you wish. Now, perhaps you'll hike the dunes or venture by 4x4 vehicle around the desert. Prior to dinner, we'll reconvene at the campsite for an in depth conversation with your trip experience leader about the basic tenets of Islam. Based around the five main pillars of the religion: faith, prayer, charity, fasting, and pilgrimage to Mecca. Our conversation will illuminate the realities, misconceptions, and history behind the Islamic faith. Now, during this interactive Q&A session, we'll encourage travelers to ask challenging questions. So this is a really great opportunity to gain a better understanding of the religion, the family dynamics, gender roles, and to dig deeper into Islam's portrayal in the US media compared to the reality of its practice in Morocco. We'll then gather for dinner in the dining tent, and we will spend our last night in the Sahara gazing at the starry desert sky where, weather permitting, of course, the Milky Way may be clear and bright. Now, we always offer our travelers the opportunity to sleep outside the tent under the starry sky. Now, you of course do not have to, but if that is of interest to you, you are more than welcome to. I have had many travelers who said, Casie, I did it. I woke up to the most beautiful sunrise. It was worth it. No better story to bring back for Thanksgiving than to tell everybody that you slept out in the Sahara Desert under the starry sky. So that is an option if you're interested. Now, on day 10, after our breakfast this morning, we leave the open desert behind and we set off for the oasis town of Ouarzazate in our coach bus. Now, this will include stops along the way. The entire transfer will take about 8 hours. But again, we're stopping along the way, whether that's a little to have bathroom breaks, stop to grab a bite, stopping at little gift stops along the way to purchase goods. There's many things to do, many sights to see along the way. So you are getting off about every hour, hour and a half. Now, en route, we might stop to learn about the Qatarat, which is an old underground water system, which then continued our way to Tenajad. Now, upon arrival here, we'll take a walk inside the ancient fortified Qasar. Qasar is a Berber walled city typically used to keep desert raiders out of the Roman cities on the coast. Next, we'll visit a Berber museum founded by a local Jewish activist, where we'll learn more about the history, architecture, and daily life of the Berbers in this region. Now, lunch will be at a local restaurant, and this afternoon we'll continue via coach for another 4 hours to Ouarzazate. This is a city built by the French as a garrison outpost in the Sahara. Now, upon arrival, we'll check into our hotel or our riad. We'll have dinner here at the hotel, and this evening is free to explore on your own. So you can take advantage of the hotel amenities or rest in your room for the evening. Now, on day 11, today we're going to visit an Asfalu village. This is a mountainside town. We'll first stop at a coffee shop in the nearby town of Ait Bendahado. Here we'll pick up a local guide who will help facilitate our conversations in Asfalu and to stretch our legs, of course, before continuing our drive. We'll then arrive in Asfalu where we'll have the opportunity to experience one of our unique opportunities that we refer to as a day in the life. Now, we'll do this for several aspects of the community, beginning with meeting with a local family. We'll greet our hosts in their home to get a firsthand look at the typical family's lifestyle in this region. Our host is a bricklayer. While his wife and children help out with farm work in the outlying fields, they can share their perspectives of everyday life as a Berber in rural Morocco. Now, after a short walk around the fields, we'll head back inside their home for some light refreshments. We'll sip tea and then enjoy a light snack of bread and olive oil as we converse about life in the village. We'll learn about the challenges of carving out an agrarian living. This is the arid region of Morocco, and we'll learn about how close the proximity of Ait Ben Haudo, a UNESCO World Heritage Site where major Hollywood productions are regularly filmed, affects the lives and the local economy. Then we will roll up our sleeves and we're going to help out with some village chores to gain a hands on understanding of the day to day tasks that occupy the lives of the locals. Our hosts will point us in the direction of the work that might need to be done. You might help him craft bricks or join his wife and daughters in the fields where you'll tend to the crops and help feed the animals. Some will help prepare the afternoon's meal in the kitchen, which we'll then share together with the family. For lunch, we are sitting down together at the family table. Our host will choose the menu, but it will likely feature regional specialties such as couscous or pastries prepared from farm fresh ingredients grown locally on the premises that you spent the day on. We'll spend about an hour dining together, offering more opportunities for intimate conversations about what life is like for the Berbers in the modern day Morocco. And this afternoon, after bidding farewell to our hosts, we will drive to the Emek Simic Women's Association for Rural Development, a former Grand Circle Foundation site. Now, the association was established in 2012 by just 15 women and has since grown to include 43 women, each hoping to further their education and opportunities. Now, it's located just outside the village of Ait Ben Haddadou. It's in a predominantly male dominated area. Now, the association's goal is to create workshops and programs that teach girls and women how to sew, read, cook, and develop healthcare and other skills and crafts that otherwise would not be available to them. Now, the Emek Semic Women's Association currently generates funding by selling bread, pastries, and couscous to local guest houses in the village. Now, when we arrive, we'll meet with Fatima, the association's leader, and we'll receive a tour of the facilities. We'll also meet many women who do work and learn here. We'll find out how they are trying to change their lives and those of the young women in their community for the better. We'll spend a little more than an hour speaking with these women and learning more about their lives during a Q&A session, complete with mint tea and cookies. Now, some of the women may be learning English, but your trip experience leader will play a large role in translating and facilitating the conversations. Now, after enjoying a tea ceremony with the woman, we'll experience a henna ceremony in which traditional natural dye is used to give you an intricate and non-permanent tattoo. Now, back in the day, when I was in high school, we had a shop local nearby that sold these henna tattoos. So as a young 15-year-old, that was very enticing to me. So I actually used to buy the henna and give my friends and I these temporary tattoos. They wash off within a few days, so it's nothing to worry about. But we'll return to our hotel in the mid-afternoon, and you are free to explore on your own. You may choose to stroll through Ouarzazat's main square, sit down at one of the many nearby cafes, or meander through the local flea markets. We will later reconvene to walk to our dinner, which will be held at a local restaurant this evening. Now, this evening is free to explore on your own after we return to the hotel. Now, your trip experience leader is happy to provide recommendations for the best ways to experience this city at night. Now, on day 12, after our breakfast, we will travel through the high Atlas Mountains today en route to Marrakesh. Now, during the drive of about 5 hours, we'll pause high above narrow green valleys to take in sweeping views. Now, on our journey, we'll pass by Tizi Nchika Road, which is a dramatic, winding road through the peaks and valleys of the high Atlas Mountains. The road at times can appear carved into the mountainside. So upon our arrival into Marrakesh, we'll head into our hotel or riad, and we'll have lunch there. Then this afternoon, after we check in and after we enjoy our lunch, we will have some leisure time, followed by a short orientation walk. Then we will walk to Djema El Fena. This is Marrakesh's central square. Now, the term translates to Assembly of the Dead. Now, in commemoration of public executions that occurred there in 1050 AD, Djema El Fena has taken on somewhat of a paradoxical nature, having blossomed into an area that is full of life as the Sahara is full of sand. Now, it's a cacophony of sounds that fills the streets as musicians tune their instruments. Snake charmers dazzle with their fascinating mix of danger and exotic ritual. Food stalls line the streets, and a combination of horse drawn carriages, motorbikes, and cars are relegated to the outskirts of the square as nightly pedestrian traffic takes center stage. This is a distinct locale for people watching and a great place to sample some local cuisine. You will have some free time to explore the area on your own. And dinner this evening, your trip experience leader will lead you to their favorite food stalls so you can sample some local favorites on your own. Now, this evening, you can choose to enjoy the freedom to explore on your own, whether that's going out in the city again or resting before your days in Marrakesh. Now, on day 13, after breakfast this morning, our day begins with a walking tour of the legendary city of Marrakesh. It will be led by our expert trip experience leader, but first, we're going to stop by the opulent Bahia Palace. This 19th century palace houses 150 council rooms with large fireplaces and intricately painted cedar work lining the floor and walls. Now, the open air court of honor is lined with vibrant tiles and flowing fountains. Our tour will continue at Les Jardins Secret. This is an opulent 400-year-old palatial estate featuring opulent architecture and immaculately tended gardens. Now, in ages past, the estate entertained Morocco's most elite and influential political figures. Today, you can wander the grounds and admire their beauty for yourself. Next, we'll visit the Koutoubia Minaret, which houses the largest mosque in Marrakesh, with its minaret standing at 70 meters, the tallest structure in the city. Now, in fact, local laws forbid any new structures from exceeding the height of the minaret. We'll also explore the famous Medina of Marrakesh, one of the ancient crossroads of North Africa and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Now, our final stop is at a local bakery where we'll have the chance to meet with the baker and learn about his traditional bread making techniques. We will join together for lunch at a local restaurant, and this afternoon we will return to our hotel as a group. You'll have some free time to explore independently or join your trip experience leader for an elective visit to see a demonstration of Berber weaving. Now, as we watch and learn, your local trip experience leader will explain the significance of the tradition as it relates to local history and culture, adding color to the experience. Now, afterwards, our trip experience leader will lead our group on a deeper exploration of Marrakesh, but a traditional horse-drawn selesh. Now, as we cruise along the streets and narrow lanes, you can enjoy the sunset and the bustling city squares. Dinner will be on our own this evening, and the rest of the evening is on your own to explore Marrakesh and enjoy the city by night. And you can also refer to your trip experience leader for recommendations of nighttime activities in the area. Now, day 14. For the early risers, you are welcome to join our optional Marrakesh hot air balloon ride this morning. This is an optional excursion, but I highly recommend joining. Prior to sunrise, we'll transfer to the balloon site, which is about a 45-minute drive. There, we'll receive a safety briefing from our pilot, and then we'll watch an expert team inflate and prepare our balloon. Afterwards, we'll ascend into the morning sky, which offers a unique perspective of Morocco. The adventure will last about an hour, depending on weather conditions. We may be able to see traditional Berber villages or far off palm groves dotting the desert landscape. Now, for those taking the optional tour, breakfast will be served following your balloon ride at the balloon site. For those not taking the optional tour, breakfast will be served at the riad. Now, following breakfast or your optional tour, the day is yours for independent discoveries. As in Fez, there is much to see, do, and buy in the bustling Medina, and your trip experience leader will be able to offer you plenty of suggestions about where to go. Or you may choose to join our optional Marrakesh Museums tour, which features visits to the Dar el Baka Museum, located in a beautifully restored 20th century palace. And we'll also visit the Museum of the Water Civilization, which documents the ingenious engineering solutions that Moroccans have employed over the years to provide clean water for their daily needs. Now, lunch will be on our own. You can ask your trip experience leader for their local favorites. If you've joined the optional Marrakesh Museums tour, you will join some local Moroccans for a roasted lamb lunch in a local restaurant. There will also be vegetarian options for those who do not eat lamb. But then later this afternoon, we'll reconvene as a group to meet with a local woman at our riad for a conversation about a controversial topic. We're going to talk about the ongoing struggles faced by women seeking gender equality in contemporary Moroccan society. The young woman we speak to will share her personal stories about how her choices have affected her life, both at home and in broader Moroccan society. Now, with no formal right to free speech or separation between religion and state, Morocco's young women are torn between the competing pressures to pursue their dreams and to meet the traditional expectations of their family and faith. The women we meet with today might have grown up behind the veil in a more conservative family, or she may have parents who valued education and encouraged her to pursue her dreams. She may be secular or devoutly religious. Either way, she will be able to offer a valuable firsthand perspective about Moroccan cultural norms. Now, this evening, we're going to enjoy a farewell dinner at a local restaurant. And then your evening is yours to enjoy a final night in Marrakesh, making final visits to the Medina or reminiscing about the trip with your fellow travelers over a nightcap. But on day 15, this morning, we will depart for Essoria after our breakfast. Now, all other travelers will continue to Casablanca on a 3 to 4 hour drive over roads that may be bumpy or uneven. Now, during our visit to the mosque, both men and women with exposed legs and upper arms will need to cover them. So we will want to make a note that this morning we will want to dress a little bit more conservatively. You will also need to remove your shoes while visiting the mosque. Now, those of us, excuse me. Now, again, we will be departing later on this day. So for those this morning, we will drive over, like I said, to Casablanca. We will have lunch at a local restaurant in Casablanca. And after our lunch, we will witness the towering Hassan II Mosque. This mosque is the largest in Morocco with a striking minaret, which is an eye-catching marble columns, an intricately designed dome, and mosaic tiles everywhere. Now, while here, you may even hear the call to prayer emanating from the towering minaret. Following our visit to the mosque, we'll make our way to our hotel and check in. Now, this evening, dinner will be on our own, so your trip experience leader will be happy to provide suggestions on where to dine. And this will be our last evening here. So it is a free evening to explore Casablanca, gather with the fellow travelers in the hotel lobby for one last drink to toast the discoveries you've made together, or you may retire early before your morning flight. But regardless, this is our last day. So we're really making our way over to Casablanca. We'll have a quick tour and then we have a leisurely afternoon and evening. And day 16 this morning, most of our flights, I do want to note, will be very early morning flights. So you might have a light breakfast here at the hotel, but then early morning, we will drive to the airport for a return flight home. So day 16 will be a travel day, ending our tour and returning back to the US. Now that completes our itinerary. So I do just want to make a note about our travel protection plan. Now, travel protection is required on this tour. Now, you do not have to take hours. If you do take hours, you have two parts included in your plan that I'm going to explain. So, when you purchase our plan, part A covers you before the trip. So, you have 100% cancellation protection for any reason up to and including the day of departure. I will note that depending on your reason for cancellation, will determine whether or not you have cash or a future travel credit. Now, you're also covered while you're on tour. So, you have medical benefits and assistance. This includes emergency evacuation. You also have comprehensive coverage that includes trip interruption, trip delay, medical expenses, baggage protection. And if you purchase our travel protection plan within 10 days, you will also be covered for any pre existing condition coverage. That includes 100% cash reimbursement if it's purchased, like I said, within 10 days. Now, that could be any pre existing condition that you already have that could cause you to cancel for any reason. Now, if you do decide that you do not want to take our travel protection plan, that is fine. You may opt to take your own travel protection, but you do need some form of travel protection. Now, we'll just need proof of the travel protection, but we do have two minimum requirements. Those minimum requirements include that if you take an outside travel protection plan, they must have $50,000 in medical coverage and $200,000 in medical evacuation. I can tell you from talking to very many travelers every day that those who opt to take their own insurance, I've talked to many people with many different varieties of travel protection insurance. I have not had a traveler yet to say that their travel protection insurance does not cover those minimums. So most travel protections will cover those two minimum requirements. And like I said, we'll just need proof before your departure just to know that you are insured on the trip. Now, for those of you who have not yet created your online account, I highly advise creating a My Planner account. If you go to our website, you'll see at the upper right-hand corner that you can log in or register. I advise doing so. Here, you will be able to see your invoice. You'll be able to see any saved itineraries. You can check your available travel credits with us. As I mentioned, viewing your invoices, as well as viewing your air itinerary, your final documents, and more. Now, your final documents will be mailed to you. They arrive about 2 weeks prior to the departure, but they will arrive in your My Planner about 30 days before the departure. So they arrive to your My Planner a bit sooner. Now, you can also upload pictures and videos from your tour as well. We may feature them on our website, and you can also make online payments here as well. Now, you cannot sign up here online. You have to make your deposit over the phone, but you can continue to make any other payments here through the online portal. Now, for those getting really excited about the tour, I recommend heading to our website. If you go to the Morocco Sahara Odyssey page, you can download our travel planning guide. They are 60 to 80 page extensive books that include everything you need to know about the culture, the tour, where we're visiting, anything that you would need to know how to pack, what to wear. That all lives in this document. So, absolutely any questions you have, whether it's currency, the voltage, anything of that nature, lives in this document. So I definitely recommend downloading that. And just to speak a little bit more about the OAT difference, you may have traveled with another tour operator before. I did just want to point out that some of the key differences, number one, the local trip experience leader. I've worked for other tour operators myself who do not utilize local trip experience leaders. You might be on a trip in Australia with the trip experience leader who's from Canada. So, what's really special here is that all your trip experience leaders are going to be from the region, which is why they're able to give you such solid recommendations. They know the area, they live there, they breathe and live the culture, and so they are able to give you really great recommendations on what to do, what to see, and they are truly experts on the area, not from studying, but because they are from there. Now, we also offer the unique experiences and cultural connections. So, as you see, there are so many on this tour, from the home hosted dinner to the day in the life experience to visiting a Grand Circle Foundation location. You have so many opportunities to interact with the locals, which really allows you to understand the culture that you're visiting. And of course, we have the best value in travel. So, like I said, when you sign up for this trip and take the trip, you'll get 5% of a travel credit toward your next trip. Now, before we get to the end, I did just want to make note of our Grand Circle Foundation. So, it was founded in 1992. As I mentioned, that women's cooperative that you're visiting, it was initially funded and founded by Grand Circle. Now it is fully operating on its own, which is the goal whenever we set up any of these cooperatives. The goal is for them to eventually sustain themselves and for them to be an operating business on their own. But we all of our donations come from travelers. So we've had about over 250 million donations for the regions that we traveled to since 1992. We've operated across 72 countries and have supported over 3,200 projects. So, some of our focuses are on the three key areas, which are investing in the future through education of young people. So, that's schools and orphanages. We have opened countless schools in Africa, but also on very many other continents as well. We have, of course, the cultural treasures and traditions that are a key area on keeping at the base of what we're doing. But also, as you can see from this women cooperative, we are also encouraging entrepreneurship within local communities. That an example is the one that you'll be going to. So, really giving women and young girls an opportunity to start businesses, have a salvation where they're safe in their community, escaping, some of the traditions that they're used to and having a chance to live freely on their own. Now, we also, one of our initiatives recently was bringing water to a school that we started in Africa. And so we just recently got a video of the village children chanting as our bus came in to start striking water in the area. So that project is ongoing. I believe they do have clean water now. I believe that we had an email that came out about a month ago that the project is finishing up. And so the kids are now receiving clean water at school, which is wonderful. So it's truly just something I'm very proud to be a part of. All of these donations come from travelers. So we're very grateful that our travelers are just as impacted as we are and are willing to give back to these cultures and communities that we visit. Now, to sign up on this tour, the number I have listed here would be the best number to contact. So you want to contact this number. And we do have reserved space for Bucknell. Now, that space is reserved under this group code here, the G7 28415. If you do not provide that code, the agents on the phone cannot access the space we have reserved for Bucknell. So it is imperative that you provide that code. That also allows them to know that you're associated with this group. But again, they can't even access the space without that code. So please make sure to jot that code down. Now, just to go over a couple more bits of information before we open up our Q&A. The base price of this tour is $47.99. So it's $4,799 per person. That's not including airfare. That's the base tour. Now, air out of Philly will be $1,400 for economy. Currently, we have 2 single rooms left. After that point, if there is a single, we will have to request it. So we currently have 4 people signed up on the trip. 2 are singles. So again, 2 singles left. So if you are a single traveler, I highly recommend signing up as soon as you can to secure that room for yourself. Now, a deposit to secure the room is $500. So there is a $500 deposit needed to sign up and hold your space and reserve that. Now, we do also have a share requester program. So, for those of you who would like a roommate but maybe don't have one, or if we, for example, run out of single rooms, you can sign up as a share requester. And what we do is we match any female and female or male and male together into a room. Heather can also, of course, help with that. So if you're looking for a roommate, she can let you know, and you guys could meet up ahead of time. She could let you know who that roommate will be. And maybe you guys can meet for a coffee before the trip to make sure you're a good fit. But we can do that for you if you are looking for a roommate. I will also add that there are no single supplements on this tour. So if you are a single, there is no additional fee to be a single. Now, at this time, we will open up the Q&A. So if you want to unmute yourself, you can go ahead and ask questions. And let's see here. Oh, sorry, Heather. Yes, she added that we'll be flying out of BWI. So excuse me for that. That's my mistake. So let me just double check on that price. I don't think there's a difference, but excuse me, there is. So flying out of BWI as a group is $1,300 for economy. My mistake, Heather. So we will fly out as a group. Now, it is November, so if you just happen to be in a different part of the US, maybe you're down in Florida, you're a snowbird. If you are, we are happy to set up your airfare out of that airport. You just have to let our agents know when you're signing up. But for the majority of the group, we will make sure you are all on the same flight flying out of BWI. But at this time, please feel free to unmute yourself and to ask questions.
I'm just going to add that for all of you, I did put in the chat a link when Casey mentioned that big trip planner thing. It's a huge document, but it comes across as a PDF. They have it compressed. And I put that in the chat, but I also downloaded a copy to my computer. If anybody wants to email me, I can send that to you. It's really fun for Vicarious. I must congratulate OAT. The back of it has suggested movies and books and all kinds of things to get excited about the trip. So,
Yes, I have a question. Now,
Yes.
originally OAT was ages 50 and up, but I was on a trip recently and there are younger people going as well. That's correct?
So there is no age restriction on
Okay.
our tours. The primary demographic does sit in the 50 plus range. Of course, we welcome anybody. The minimum age is 13. So sometimes we'll
Oh,
have
okay.
families that might bring someone younger. But to be honest, for the most part, if you ever see someone younger, maybe in their 20s, 30s, or 40s, it might just be an OAT employee. We do take a lot of the trips. So a lot of the time when you do see someone younger, it might just be a worker from OAT just taking a vacation. Or, for example, like they put me on a trip every year just to better develop myself. So I know the tours really well. So it could be that, but there really is no limitation, like I said, on the age. It's just for the most part, because our trips are a little bit longer, we find that ages 50 plus are our primary demographic because they might have a little bit more time or money to come on our trips.
Hmm.
and
Thank you.
Casey,
Yes.
if we are able to secure a minimum booking, this would be a strictly bill group, correct?
Correct. So if we have 13 people total in the trip, which we have four as of now, so if we get to 13, this will be a bill only trip. That is correct. It'll be a private tour.
Yeah.
And this trip is max at 16. So it is, as I mentioned, one of the smaller group adventures, which is why we're able to go into so many locals' homes and do so many off the beaten path type of activities. So that's the perk of being a smaller group.
Casey,
Yes.
I've actually been on this trip, and as Heather said before you got on, it's one of the best trips my husband and I have taken in terms of the diversity of activities and the amount of interaction with the people. So
Mm.
I'm part of the bill effort to try to help people to understand it and get excited about it. But I just want to clarify the walk 5 to 7 miles unassisted, because there were certainly people on our trip who had walking sticks, but that's
Yep.
not what you mean, right? That
No, nope. Walking sticks are totally fine. We more so mean if you need assistance walking with maybe like a walker or a wheelchair, that's not permitted. You would definitely have difficulty, especially getting in the 4x4 vehicle for the safari. You just need to make sure you can climb into that vehicle. So it's more so for those that maybe are more bound to like a wheelchair or a walker.
okay.
Um, they might struggle a little bit more, so it's not advised, but walking sticks, not a problem at all.
And I want to also tell everybody that I've never been on an OAT trip where we walked 5 to 7 miles all at once. I mean,
No.
it's like if you add it up at the end of the day, you might be surprised how much you walk during the day.
Mm.
But as you said, there are lots of stops for tea or snacks or just to rest. And sometimes a few people said, when you all finish shopping, come back and pick me up. And I'm just going to sit in the tea shop. That some people sort of waited out a small portion of the tour too.
Thank you for adding that in. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. That's kind of the disclaimers. We just, want people to be aware that there's walking, but yeah, you're never going on like a 7 mile hike with that. It's not what this is. So thank you for explaining that. And if there's anything else you want to add in, I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate that, Jeannie, because I that was one of my questions I was going to ask because I haven't walked 7 miles straight in a while. So, but as long as you can walk your ambulatory without assistance, you should be fine at
Yep.
some reasonable pace.
Oh, yes.
Um, is it a lot of uphill, downhill, or mostly flattish?
Mostly flat. You might just
Okay.
have some uneven terrain, especially in the Sahara.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's what I was looking at the desert. But if it's a lot of uphill and downhill, I'm thinking about my husband. Um, if he decides he wants to go, and we're talking about physical abilities, I do have a CPAP machine, and I don't think I can go 16 days without it, to be honest, for sleeping.
Okay.
Except for maybe the desert trip. Will that be a problem? I mean, does that count me out?
I
Mm-mm.
don't believe so. Let me just see. I might have some information on the
While
CPAP.
you're looking at that, Casey, you
Yep.
keep looking it up to be sure, but I've got to tell you, Daryl, 2 years ago, Bev Bayer went on this trip. She's one of the members that contacted me after hearing we were doing this. Oh, great job. People have to do this trip. It was the best trip I ever took. And she sent me pictures because she wanted to show off the glamping arrangements of the tent in the
Okay.
Sahara, which has a bathroom in your tent and full electricity. So I'll let
Okay.
Casey confirm the rest, but I can tell you, at least in the
Yeah.
Sahara, you've actually got
I'm
electricity.
not
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not sure that our Sahara tents, they move them, so that
Yeah.
to,
I mean, I
to
could
be,
live a day or 2 days probably without it, but I don't see myself going without that much sleep for 16 days. And I guess at that point, if there is electricity, what kind of adapters and things do I need? So I know that in advance, and that'd be something I'd ask.
in the travel handbooks that are online, they tell you for each um, trip sort of what kind of adapter you need. And
Thank you.
so I'm sure that's in the book. I don't recall what it was, but Heather may be right. They may now have electricity even in the Sahara, but every place else, I would
Hmm.
I would say the rooms, even though they were in traditional settings of the riads, the rooms themselves were really modern, and
Okay.
you wouldn't have had a problem with electricity.
Okay. Of
Yeah,
course,
I will
nowadays we need
say.
to plug in
Okay.
our phones and cameras to power them up as well.
So I will say there could be possibility of no electricity in the tents in the Sahara. So that's the only
Okay.
place I would worry about the CPAP. But to be honest with you, I have no notes here. Like my team will give me
Okay.
notes in regard to like anything of that nature. That's um
Hmm.
and I seen there's no notes. Like I had a presentation recently on a tour that was much more remote than this, and they made a
Okay.
note. I'm sorry, we were on for a safari in Tanzania, and they said that if you're bringing a CPAP, it would have to be like a battery operated one. I see no
Okay.
notes about that here.
Mhm.
In all of the accommodations outside of the safaris, they're very modern. So
Okay.
that's not the issue. It might just be the 2 nights in the Sahara.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you.
I would prep that there could be no electricity there.
And
Gotcha.
I don't know if I can share screen, but I just real quick, just for ha-has, searched
Yeah,
that.
I can stop
Um,
my share if you'd like.
that 2027 TPG MSO download. Um, I just looked up electricity. It says we spend 2 nights in the Sahara in comfortable but basic canvas tents with electricity but without heat.
Yep,
So it specifies that in your full travel guide on this trip.
Thank
perfect.
you, Heather.
Okay, but
And
I'll try to send you guys the download for this because as I said, it is a large file and
yeah,
I've we've run into problems with some of our users not being able to
Mhm.
use my links to large things depending on their email servers. But when I send it as a PDF, that usually works. So at least everybody in this group, I'll follow up with the PDF just so you have it. Like I
yeah,
said, it's fun to go to the back and I've already been thinking, okay, I can watch some of these movies and read some of these books
yeah.
anyway.
It's the travel planning guide is the best. Like anything you could ask, it's
Yeah.
there. But also to answer your question about the currency, so it's the Moroccan dirham. There are ATMs and bank machines in the cities, and the US dollar is not accepted. Just so you know. So you could expect like in the larger cities for there to be ATMs, but if you're going into like some of the market stalls, that might not be available. So you might want to have some of the local currency on you.
Would that be something we could probably do when we get there in Casablanca? Do money exchange?
You could. I personally, I always do that before I leave just to have some
Okay.
money with me. But there are, like I said, ATMs and banks once you're in the city. So that is something you could do when you arrive. But I
Okay.
personally, just to be safe, would always come with a little bit.
Makes
And
sense. Thank
and
you.
we almost always just use the ATM machines to get the local currencies. Maybe um, your local bank can get
Sure.
currency, but if we get
Mhm.
any, we get very little because you're going to be first in Rabat, which is the capital. So, they're going to have banks there as well as other ATMs. And
Sure.
again, the travel planning guide sort of gives advice about money.
Good idea. You had said the travel protection covers the pre-existing conditions within 10 days of the trip, 10 days after you pay your deposit.
You would
Where's the
have to pay, yeah, sorry. So you would have to pay the travel protection plan. You'd have to pay for that insurance within 10 days of making your deposit. So
Oh,
personally,
okay.
I just encourage when you make your deposit to pay for the deposit and the insurance, but you do have 10 days to pay for the insurance.
And let me say Heather asked me to look at the travel insurance and there's a site called insuremytrip.com. It's all one word, insuremytrip.com. And so you can go on there and say, what conditions do you want and when's your trip start and end and um, what the total price is. And then it'll give you different plans. And
Okay.
for a lot of trips, we have used one of the less expensive plans from there, but um, none of those plans are going to have the cancel for any reason
Mhm.
unless you pay a ton extra. And so I guess you do have to understand, Casey said this, that if you just decide your dog is sick and you don't want to go, you're going to get a credit from OAT, not your money back. But if
Mhm.
you're sick or one of the covered conditions, you'll get your money back. But other plans that have cancel for any reason are quite expensive. And
Mhm.
so I found it more reasonable if you want that provision and
Mhm.
comparable to other plans without that provision. You can find a cheaper plan, but I'm really suspect if it's really, really cheap compared to the other ones.
Well, when you were going over it, I thought, geez, it makes sense to go with your travel protection insurance, but what is the cost?
Yeah, that's a great question. I can tell you that. So for the base tour and air out of BWI, it would be about $749 per person.
Okay, thank you.
And I have a
You're wel-
question about the insurance. It's you said it's required for this trip. Is it required for all your trips or particularly this trip? Okay.
Yeah, no, only destinations that go to more remote areas. We never used to require it, but then as of January of 2025, we started requiring it for some of our more remote destinations
Oh,
just for, as
oh,
out
okay.
of
It's the
safety.
remote ones.
Yes. Anything that's like a more remote destination, we require it for.
Okay, because yeah, I went to Romania and Bulgaria and it wasn't required for that.
Yeah. Yep. So there's about like 20 to 30 tours we require it for.
Okay,
Really just places that are more remote where if something happened, we
makes
we just
sense.
had a lot of incidences where there were travelers who didn't take it and something happened. And OAT, obviously, we're not going to let somebody have a medical emergency and not seek help and, that came out of our pocket. So because of that, we require.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I want to make a suggestion. I don't know if would apply in Morocco, but what I found when I was in Romania and Bulgaria, I wanted to go to a concert. I decided I wanted to go to a concert, and some were already sold out. So if you're thinking of doing one of these trips and want to go to a concert, do book it a
Oh,
few weeks or if even a few months ahead.
Yeah, exactly. So if there's anything that you're looking in particular to do, go through the itinerary. You can see what days you have the free time. You have plenty of free afternoons or evenings where you could plan something. Um, but also, like I said, your trip experience leader will reach out about 2 weeks prior to the departure. So they could always help you at that point too. But if it's something that requires like booking 3 months in advance or something, you would have to do that on your own.
Yeah, and the smaller ones, I did find some smaller ones that weren't booked, but like the large, like say a concert hall in Budapest, the big main one would probably be booked, would probably be full,
Mhm.
um, if it's a big concert.
I know I've got lots of questions,
It's
so
okay.
bear with me. If I'm going overboard, just tell me to stop. But
No, it's okay.
on day 6 and on day 14, there's some options there. For example, we've got the optional tour, the balloon ride, the museum tour, and those types of things. Is there an additional charge or cost for those tours? And would they need to be paid up front?
Yes, and yes. Let me, I can go through that with you right now. So,
Yeah.
Let me interrupt a minute. I have to go, so thank you so much.
Luann,
yes,
I'm
of course.
recording, so if you want the recording for these answers, just you'll be able to like zap to an hour and 15 minutes into it to catch up.
Okay, thank you,
Okay.
Heather.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
for
Okay,
joining.
thank you. Bye.
So for
Bye.
the optional tours, um, okay, so all of our adventures are booked on site only, unless
Oh,
it's otherwise noted. And let me just see. Sometimes our balloon ride needs to be booked in advance.
okay. The
No,
reason
it
I
does
ask
not.
is if, okay, so you
So
can wait till that day.
yep, you can book or you can book it right. So at the beginning of the trip, the trip experience leader will also ask if there was anybody interested in, this, or this. So you could pay for it right then and there. So for the Volubilis and Meknes, the full day with lunch, that's $105 per person. We do take credit cards for that as well, just not American
No.
Express.
Not American Express.
Correct. That's the only credit card we do not accept.
Okay.
For the hot air balloon ride, that's a half day with breakfast. It's $220 per person.
Okay.
And for that,
Okay.
I believe it's close to the end of the tour, one of the last days, the Marrakech Museum. That's a half day with
Yeah.
lunch. That's $75 per person.
Yeah. Okay. I just wondered because, like, I may say, sure, I want to go on the hot air balloon and I'll pay for it ahead of time. And I get there and the night before I'm exhausted. It's like, I don't think so. So I can just wait until
Yep.
then and then
Yep.
book
You
it
wait
with
until
my
you're on
credit card.
site and you can talk to the program director too. So if it starts
Okay.
filling up, they might tell you, hey, like if you want to sign up, you have to do it
Sure.
now.
Great. I hate to my mom monopolizing the questions,
That's what
but
we're here
Yeah,
for.
keep going.
well, I wanted when we go to the desert, when you were staying in there, we're in tents and stuff. Are we taking all of our luggage and everything with us, or do we have a small little bag we'll pack just for the 2 days and leave our luggage somewhere else? It seems like an awful lot to take on those little 4x4s.
Yes, so that's a great question. I believe you would be taking it because when we're going, they'll advise you because when we're going in, we're stopping at a hotel before we stay at the 2 nights at the camp. So they might advise you from there just to take like a backpack. Um,
Yeah,
and
that's what
Jeannie,
I was
actually, you might be
thinking.
able to speak to this because you did it before. Did they have you just take a backpack for
I
those?
I think that boy, you kind of need your stuff because you're not coming back the
You're not
same
going
way. You're
back.
making a
Yeah.
circle,
Okay.
so because uh,
Mm,
you'll be
Yeah,
going sort of like from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock and
correct.
then on up.
And then you're
I
taking a
think I
motor coach
remember a,
out.
I
I
think I
think you have to take
remember a
everything.
truck with our suitcases. So
Yeah.
it might
okay.
be that they had us put our pajamas and toothbrushes in some separate smaller
Okay.
bag and then but they brought our big bags with us. I
Yeah.
don't know. They might have put the
No,
big
Okay.
bags into the tents.
no,
I,
that's what I was gonna say. I just didn't know if they did something different while you were there, but you're not going back to where you start.
Mm,
So yes, you do have to bring your bags, but they would have a
okay.
place to put those bags. It might just be on top of the vehicle strapped down.
Sure. I
And
just wonder whether I should make sure I bring a small little bag with me in addition, tuck it away. Okay. All right.
I mean,
But
personally, I always travel with my checked bag and a backpack. So, because you can have a
yeah.
personal item. So I always have a backpack just in case. That's just me
Mm,
personally, but I'm pretty sure they'd be bringing the luggage.
okay. What
uh,
would be an example of a gift you might bring the home host who's having you for dinner? Just
That's completely up to you. I mean, it's something that you don't want obviously to take up a lot of space in your luggage.
right.
That could be a postcard
Oh,
from where you're from. It might be something like a little trinket. It doesn't have to be anything large.
okay.
Yeah.
one thing that we've taken several places is potholders, early American style potholders,
Hmm.
because it's a different style than they have and it's useful, but also things like flashlights that don't require batteries that crank.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I know I've had travelers bring postcards, like a little Christmas ornament, even if they don't celebrate Christmas, just like something that they could like hang somewhere.
Oh, okay.
Um, so yeah, there's like any like little trinket could work, a picture of the city, something like that.
Okay.
Nothing too.
a
That's
calendar with American scenes.
okay. Oh, I just was like trying to sit here and think when you're talking about like what would I take? So
Yeah, something small that's not inconvenient for you.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
we should poll we have a lot of people who have been on OAT trips and we should poll them for their suggested knickknacks
Hmm,
and things to bring, but
that's a good idea. And I guess my other first question I wrote down before we even got on in lieu of recent events between Spain and Morocco. Safety, is that a concern?
Not as of now. We've been operating these tours without any issue. If we deem a destination not safe, we'll cancel the tour and issue you three options. That'll be a refund, future travel credit, or price protection to move to a later date.
Right.
But we've been operating our tours in Egypt as well without an issue. So everything's been perfectly fine.
Right. So I don't know. I just thought, I read all those headlines and New York Times
Yeah.
story about the
We
invasion and
Yeah, we do have 36 regional offices across the world. So we do have people there. So if something is not safe, we would never, like liability purposes, we would never operate it.
I wouldn't think
So
so,
we
but
we have a worldwide business operations team that's keeping an eye on all of that all the time. And we have people in the area that are there that work for us. So if something were to happen where we felt it wasn't safe, we wouldn't operate it. Like I got an email yesterday that there was an earthquake over in a section of Italy where we're operating a tour. Like where we are constantly on top of that. So, and still they were like, it hasn't impacted any parts of the tour where we can safely still operate. So,
sure.
we have not had, and I have to say, this is one of our most popular tours. It's in the top three every year, has one of the top excellence overall ratings. So they would
Wow.
never send you out there if they thought something could happen.
Sure. But I had to ask because it was like on my
Yeah.
mind
Nope,
when it happened.
I get it. I get that
Okay.
question at least 3 times a day. So do not worry. It's completely normal to ask
Okay.
that.
Sure. Uh,
Are there any other questions?
Catherine,
Thank
you're
you
already
for your
signed up for
time.
this, right?
What's that?
What's
I
this?
said you're already signed up for this trip, aren't you?
I am.
Yay!
I usually find something to go on while I'm finishing up the last one.
All right,
So,
we'll be excited.
Great. So I appreciate the time answering all my questions.
Of course.
So you can tell I'm a first-time traveler.
That's okay. Yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions. And if you have any other questions that come up after today, you can send them to Heather. She'll send them over to me and I'll give her the answers. So she is kind of like the middleman in between the travelers and myself. I work directly with her. So any questions, just send them over to her. But at this time, if there aren't any other questions, we can conclude the
I guess
presentation.
I do have one question. Do
Yeah.
you have an app where you have a chat among the travelers?
No, I've put
Okay.
that suggestion in a few times though. So I will let my director know tomorrow when I go up to our headquarters in Boston that I had another inquiry about that. But no, not as of yet.
But Catherine, I will tell you that the Bill group, as we get closer to the time of departure, probably by honestly April or so, I will be sharing everybody in the Bill group. I'll be sharing your contact information with one another so that you guys can definitely talk and get excited. And I've always said, if the group wants to get together beforehand, we had a trip that Tom Travis led where he had everybody get together a month and a half before they left to watch one of those movies to just,
I'd see.
get excited. We can definitely set something like that up if everybody wants to do something.
Well, I just find that when I do a group tour and having that available,
Oh, yeah.
especially if you're connected with the guide, then you can get your itinerary in writing. You get it the night before. You say, oh, tomorrow we're going to do this, this, and this. And as soon as you get back to your room and cross the threshold, you can't remember anything that you've heard. So that's just a very nice thing to be able to have.
Yeah. Well, very good.
All right. Well, thank you all for coming today. And again, if you have any questions, reach out to Heather. Like we said, we're trying to get to 13 people so we can keep this a private group trip for Bill. So I believe we are holding the space until
Yeah.
Check on that actually, so we can tell everybody the deadline.
Oh, while you're doing that, I'll ask you then also, are there any other discounts we need to know about?
Not as of today.
Okay.
Nothing for, I
I
know
keep
in,
my eye on
yeah,
all the emails we get. So
I know we usually do. We usually are running something. We ran a July offer for the 4th.
Mhm.
But as of
I'm crossing my
today,
fingers for Labor Day.
yeah, there
I
might be something. It's hard to, they honestly don't tell me until 2 days before because I tell everybody. So
Sure.
they
well,
don't like to tell our team until like a day or two
Well, I
before
think
it's live.
Catherine got on there right away, so I'm hoping you got that July savings, but
I got initial discount
there
for
you
the
go.
July, and then I
Yep.
had called in because I had wound up having my two signed ones. However, it wound up it had me in the so I called in for some help and getting my set up on the system, and they said, "Oh, by the way, if you pay your whole thing in full, you get 10% off."
There
Well,
you
Yeah, so
go.
that's our goodbye discount. That's always in place.
Mm-hmm.
okay.
So our goodbye discount at this point, how many months out are we from the departures? So it's in November, so October, September, August, excuse me while I count.
I
So I
have our
believe
flyer.
actually, yeah. So if you had paid in full by the 2nd of this month, you would get 10% off. Now, if you pay in full with a checking account by September 2nd, you'll get 9% off.
Okay.
I
And it
was
drops, yeah, it drops a percentage point each month. But you would
I
have
was
to,
required to use a checking account, which I
yes.
did.
Yeah,
This
so you
was
are
not a big.
required to pay with a checking account and it's
Oh,
paying
okay.
full, they'll deduct that off. So we just missed as of 2 days ago for the 10%, but now, so that's always
Mhm.
in place for every tour, a goodbye discount.
Oh,
It's if you pay in full 15 months prior to the departure with the checking account, you receive 10%. But we just keep deducting a percentage until we hit that year mark.
okay.
And then after that, there's really not much. So
And
nine
anybody who's traveled with OAT before gets a discount, right?
anybody's eligible for that. If they traveled with OAT before, it depends. It depends on when their
Oh,
trip
okay.
was. If it was 5 years ago, they wouldn't have a discount. If they traveled within the last year or two, they would have a travel credit with us.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So if I get it in by the 2nd in full, I get 9% off the total.
Yeah. So you can make a deposit today and then you could pay in full by September 2nd and get that 9%
Okay.
off. And
And
they'll
then
deduct that off
October would be
8.
8%.
Correct.
Um,
Okay.
Yep. And it basically teeters off until there's like 3%. And then after that, you can only save $50. So
Sure.
yeah,
What
I
is
couldn't
the
walk away from $500 discount.
no, I don't
absolutely
blame you.
not? Yeah. What is the deadline for Bill? I mean, to get the deposit in and get
It's October 1st for us to fill the entire trip. After that, we open
October
up this.
1st.
Yeah, after that, we open up to the space to the general public, and it's on a first come, first serve basis unless we hit 13 people by that date. But if you are looking to have a single occupancy room, we only have 2 left. So I would highly recommend signing up for that as soon as possible because those tend to go
Sure.
very fast.
When it's open to the
Yes.
general public, does the price go up or
No,
no? I
it does
see.
not, but I wouldn't worry about that as of now. The goal is
Okay.
that we'll have 13 people by that, and that won't be an issue.
Okay.
All that changes is that it's no longer a private trip. But I think Bill, for the most part, has always almost had a private trip with us. So
Mostly.
hopefully that'll be the case again.
Now, I
Okay.
will say we're going to be advertising it by the end of August, early September. We will probably promote this trip to the other local college um, in the region. So, but everybody has to be a Bill member on the dates of travel just for liability reasons, but also you'll all be Bill members when you're on their trip. So,
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I wouldn't, if you know you want to take the trip, I personally wouldn't recommend
yeah,
waiting until October
no,
1st. We could have
no,
16 signups by then and the trip could be full.
yeah.
Oh,
And that
yeah.
has happened a number of times.
Yeah.
I do have a question, not quite related. Do I get a notification when my I think I signed up in March. I'll get a notification when my membership to Bill
Oh,
is
yes.
about to expire. Okay. This is all new to me.
I was going to say you signed up in March. We didn't even have this trip, but yeah.
No, you didn't,
Yeah,
because
your bill,
I
your
was
bill membership, you'll get
I
you'll
was
get
looking
many
at
reminders
I
from
was
me.
looking at going to the Rapa Nui
Oh, very good.
armchair thing, because I traveled to Rapa Nui the month after
That's
that.
right, with Janet Jones, yes.
Yes.
Okay, I think we should probably let Casie get back to her other clients and whatnot, but thank you so much,
Yes.
Casie.
Thank
And
you.
again, this recording will be available for anybody who needs it. So if you just want to review or you want to pass it on, if you know
Yes.
anybody who wants to go on this trip, just give them my contact info at the bill office and
Okay.
I'll get that out to them.
So you'll
Okay.
be sending out the recording to us and the PDF
I was going to send the
of the
PDF,
trip.
but do you want the recording just
I'd love
automatically?
to
I can
have
do
that and
that.
share it with a
Sure.
friend to
Yeah.
see if she'd
Oh,
like to
that's a
go
great
with me.
idea. Okay. Thank you.
Awesome.
Nice
Well,
meeting everyone.
it was nice to meet you
Thank
all.
you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much, Heather.
Casie.
Thanks.
Have
All
a great
right.
day.